check first for that. Okay, welcome everyone here today. We'll declare the meeting open at 4:01. Members of the public are advised that recommendations to council contained within this agenda can be subject to change. Applicants and other interested parties should refrain from taking any action until written advice is received confirming council's decision with respect to any particular issue. Any statement or insinuation of approval regarding any planning or development application made during an ordinary council meeting is not to be taken as notice of approval. Anyone who has an application lodged with the Shire must obtain and should only rely on written confirmation of the outcome of the application and any conditions attached to the decision made by council. Council members and the community are reminded that should an exception resolution be passed, this has the effect of making the decision to accept the officer recommendation stated in the agenda as the council's decision without change. An audio and visual record will be made by means of live streaming of these proceedings and uploaded to the Shire's YouTube page for viewing. Acknowledgement of country. The Shire of Harvey acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land and their continuing connection to the land, waters and community. And we pay our respects to all members of the Aboriginal communities and their cultures and to elders both past, present and emerging. Item 2, record of apologies and approved leave of absence. Apologies from Councillor Jackson and Councillor Bronham and leave of absence to Councillor Dickinson. Item 3, applications for leave of absence. Neil? We do? Councillor Capagrego to request a leave of absence from Monday the 14th of August 2023 to Monday 20th of November 2023 inclusive. Move Councillor Burgoyne, second Councillor Crispin. I'll put the motion. Is anyone against the motion? Motion's carried. Happy holidays, Councillor Capagrego. We look forward to a couple of postcards. Item 4, reading from a book of learning and wisdom. Councillor Burgoyne.
Not sure if this is going to be wisdom or learning, but I learned recently that something that I use as, and a lot of people use as a bit of an insult, is actually far removed from the original saying, and that's a jack of all trades but a master of none, which we use sometimes as an insult, is actually the shortened version of a quote by William Shakespeare, which is a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. A little bit of research on that equates to the fact that you're a generalist versus a specialist, and Bill Gates preferred generalists when he was setting up Microsoft. I also believe it's a very good trait for councillors to have. So there you go.
Thank you, Councillor Burgoyne. That was wisdom and learning.
Thank you.
Okay, item 5, declarations of members and officers' personal interest. Councillor Beach.
Yeah,
Is that all correct?
That's written, thank you.
Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, all correct, thank you.
Councillor Coleman.
Correct, thank you.
Councillor Burgoyne.
Correct.
Councillor Capagrego.
Correct, thank you.
Correct. Councillor Crispin.
Correct.
Councillor Carboni. Correct. Councillor Lovett.
Thank you, yes, correct.
Ms Williams. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's Curtis Green. Okay. Are there any others, councillors? Okay. Item 6, response to previous questions taken on notice is nil. Item 7, public question time. Any questions from the public? Nil. Item 8, petitions, deputations and presentations are nil. Item 9, announcements by a presiding member or CEO without discussion. No. I'd just like to pass on our condolences to the family and friends of Dr. Crone, who passed away earlier this month. So it's been unfortunate that we finally got the bridge sorted and won't be there for the opening. So it will always be affectionately known as Crone's Bridge. So item 10, confirmation of minutes. The ordinary council meeting on Tuesday the 18th of April 2023. The recommendation that the minutes of the council meeting held on Tuesday 18th of April 2023 as printed be confirmed as a true and correct record. Move Councillor Lovett, second Councillor Capadrago. I'll put the motion. Is anyone against the motion? The motion is carried. Item 11, receipt of minutes and recommendations from committees. We have the Local Emergency Management Committee on Monday the 13th of March 2023 and the recommendation that the minutes of the Local Emergency Management Committee meeting held on Monday 13th of March 2023 as printed be received, and the Bushfire Advisory Committee on Monday the 15th of May 2023. Recommendation there. Good. Councillor Campbell. Second, Councillor Burgon.
Did you want to take those separately, seeing as how there's a second?
There is two there, you are correct.
Yeah, but there's also a second recommendation for the Bushfire Advisory Majority, separate to the minutes.
Yep. Councillor Campbell on the first.
Yes.
Yes. Councillor Burgon. That's the Local Emergency Management Committee. Put the motion. Is anyone against the motion? Motion is carried. Please split that into.
This is a separate one.
Okay. And the recommendation, the minutes of the Bushfire Advisory Committee meeting held on Monday the 15th of May 2023. Mover, Councillor Burgon. I'm happy to second that. I'll put the motion. Is anyone against the motion? The motion is carried. 10. Absolute majority. 10-0. Okay, item 12, officers' reports. Recommendations contained in the officers' reports were adopted by exception and resolution with the exception of the following items. With the exception of 12.1.2, Management Agreement, Harvey Community and Play Learning Centre Incorporated. 12.1.4, lease on the Harvey Brunswick Leschenault Football Club. 12.1.5, 12.1.6, 12.3.2 and 12.5.1 to 12.5.2. So they're to be considered separately. So the officer recommendation for items 12.1.1, 12.2.1 to 12.2.3, 12.3.1 and 12.4.1 to 12.4.3 be adopted as council resolutions. Move Councillor Saboni. Sorry.
Yeah, Mr. President, I'll move it, but can I have item 12.1.4 considered also as a separate
item?
Yeah.
To the seconder, Councillor Crispin. Put the motion. Is anyone against the motion? The motion is carried. Okay, item number 12.1.2. Okay, 12.1.2, Management Agreement, Harvey Community and Play Learning Centre Incorporated. We have an amendment. Councillor Beach.
Move the amendment.
We have a mover. Is there a seconder for the amendment? Councillor Campbell. Councillor Beach.
Yeah, I think this is just maybe a little bit of an oversight, and I just wanted to try and get some equity across this agreement and the other agreements that we have for council buildings. We are agreeing to terminate the rent that this organisation has been paying, and I think it's been going to the rec centre for the majority of years. And over the past 4 years, staff have supplied me with the rental they paid, and without giving you the exact figures, it's averaging about $7,000 a year that they've been paying and asking not to pay any more. So in lieu of that, I thought it was only appropriate that, and fair and reasonable, that the organisation should contribute to minor maintenance on the utilities used. Because in the new agreement at item 9, rental and fees states, for the term of this agreement there shall be nil rent or nil fees payable. So if they're saving $7,000 a year, I thought that was a fair and reasonable ask that, look, fix up your minor maintenance. It might only be changing a light bulb or a door handle or something or other, and pay for the utilities that you use. Now, how that's going to be worked out, because they're actually using the power, etc., and water from the Harvey Recreational and Cultural Centre. So, as I said right at the beginning, it's just bringing a degree of equity. We have this commonly in most of our agreements, whether they're lease agreements or management agreements, with groups occupying shire buildings.
Thanks, Councillor Leach. Now, if I go back a step, Councillor Beach and Councillor Campbell, just happy to move the item 12.1.2 as well as the amendment. Just move the motion, bring it to the table, and then move your amendment.
So it's on the table.
Yep.
Yeah.
As long as that item 2 that's in the amendments included in the original recommendation, I
Yep,
think.
and then it'll come through as substandard. Okay, so is there likely to be anyone against the amendment? Any further discussions? Happy to put the amendment. Is anyone against? Okay, the amendment carried. Now becomes the substantive. I think there's likely to be any more discussion on the motion. Okay, I'll put the substantive. Anyone against? Carried. 10-0. Someone just please get Ms. Williams, please. Okay, item number 12.1.3, Lease Senior Citizen Centre Committee Incorporated. Move Councillor Beach.
Yeah, I'm with.
Move seconder, Councillor Caprigo. Is there likely to be any discussion, councillors? Okay, I'll put the motion. Is anyone against the motion? Motion is carried. Item 12.1.4, lease Harvey Brunswick Leschnault Football Club. Do you have a mover? Bring it to the floor.
Can I, I'll move the officer's recommendation with a slight amendment to point 2 of that recommendation.
Have a seconder? Councillor Campbell. Councillor Cabone.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. And I'm sorry because we discussed this earlier, but a point was raised with me after the discussion that we had earlier. So the amendment I have to item 2 is that it approves the draft a lease agreement, but with the deletion of clause 3.2A4 of the attachment. And if you read item 4 of the or that subclause in the attachment, it says that it charges the club for electricity for the oval skate park, car park, and memorial corner lighting. So I think that's probably a typo. It's covered in clause 1 where it says charges for electricity, gas and water, which will maybe in the future be imposed or charged for the services supplied to or consumed in or on the premises. So I think it's adequately covered in clause subclause 3.2A1. So I move that the deletion of clause 3.2A4 be removed.
Through the chair, and just to be clear, that would provide that the football club did not pay for overlighting, for the consumption of overlighting.
Well, I think this is a subject of another discussion for another day with regards to overlighting, and something needs, a uniform policy needs to be developed for all clubs throughout the Shire with regards to that. The idea of the lighting project in the first place was that the oval lighting was handed back to the Shire for maintenance and that, but I don't think the club has any problem per se in paying for the power for the lighting, and I think that's covered in clause 1, 3.2A1. I think that's covered in that anyway. But a uniform policy probably needs to be developed with regards to all clubs in the Shire that use lighting.
Through the chair, if I may, it's simply because the way that the electricity is connected to the premises is highlighted in the 3A1, being that meter is physically attached to the club premises. The meter for the oval lighting isn't, and it's a separate metered account. However, I agree with the proposition that they should perhaps pay for lighting attached to the skate park, car park and memorial corner lighting perhaps. And this is, I'm wondering if this is how you intended that a portion perhaps of the lighting for the broader oval in terms of electricity.
I just agree on the clause B underneath where it says reimburse the lessee for 20%. So there is that reimbursement as well for power usage for those areas.
Yeah, sorry, so through the chair, B goes on to say that 20% of those lighting charges, and I think in effect cover off on the skate park, car park, memorial corner lighting, is reimbursed to the lessee.
Why would it be included in the footy club lease for memorial lighting? Which memorial lighting are we talking about?
Through the chair, I think it's on the I can't get the map right enough to bring the map up, but it's basically just because the meter is connected for the lights and those 3 other facilities, 1 meter. We can always look at a sub-meter or something similar to bring the lights off of that grid, I suppose, if that's an easier way.
Well, again, I see clause 1 covers it as far as the footy club's concerned, and as this lease agreement goes, which is only to do with the building, nothing else. And that's why I say I think a policy needs to be developed as far as lighting and cost goes that's uniform across the whole Shire. It needs to be dealt with as a separate issue. As far as this lease agreement goes, which is strictly to do with the building as outlined in the plan with the line drawn around it, that any cost as far as electricity goes relates purely to the building.
Through the chair, I would imagine the difficulty is with a single meter that unless it is stipulated in the lease agreement that there'll be a reimbursement as part of those other services that are connected through to the 1 metre, it's unable to be determined as to what the cost sharing arrangement should be. As mentioned, there's the potential to install a sub-meter, but I'm not sure as to the timing of that.
I would imagine that they would have worked the 20% out on the usage, potentially. in one way, shape or form.
Well, I'm happy to let this lay on the table for another month and for something else to be sorted out if that's what might need to be required to look into it further. But I think we need to be crystal clear here exactly what who pays for what, basically. And we don't even know what memorial lighting we're talking about. Is it the war memorial lighting down the main street, or?
Do you want to do an alternative to lay it?
Yeah, okay. I'll
Till
withdraw my support for this, the officer's recommendation. I'll move an alternative motion that we let it lay on the table for another month pending further information.
Councillor Bergman, second. Is it likely to be any discussion? Councillor? Oh. Okay. All happy? Okay, for the amendment, is anyone against the amendment?
The alternative.
The alternative, sorry. Okay, carried, 10-0. Okay, item 12.1.5, Lease Jeep Owners Club of Western Australia Incorporated. A mover and a seconder. I'm happy to move. Second, Councillor Beach. Councillor Beach, do you have an alternative?
Yeah, it's written there.
Revocation to start. Okay.
So basically,
Just wait, Councillor Beach. So we've got recommendation 1 and 2. So you want to do that? Okay. So, yep. So we've got recommendation 1 of 2. So we have following have been signed as Councillor Beach, Councillor Llewellyn, Councillor Gillett, Councillor Campbell and Councillor Coleman. So we have Councillor Beach. Do we have a seconder for the recommendation 1 of 2? Councillor Campbell. Councillor Beach,
you want to speak to?
Did you wish to, or is it you're pretty happy with it? Self-explanatory as is?
I think I'm happy with that at the moment.
Okay.
If someone speaks against it,
is there any speakers against the recommendation 1? Okay, I'll put the motion. Is anyone against the motion? The motion is carried, 10-0, absolute majority. Okay. Okay, Councillor Beach, you have an alternative.
Yes, I'll move the alternative as described there on the screen.
Okay. We have a seconder for the alternative motion. Councillor Boylan. Councillor Beach.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Probably most of you know that I led the charge on this a couple of meetings ago to throw the Jeep Club a lifeline to let them use the premises up on the commonage there, and I thought at that time I was doing the right thing. Because although they had breached the licence agreement, I thought they deserved a second chance, and as I said, the lifeline. But at the last meeting, there were comments that were released to council that we weren't aware of during that particular discussion. and I found that those comments from the president of the Jeep Club to the organisers of the Enduro were totally out of line, totally out of order. And for that reason, there is a lack of cooperation with the Jeep Club and anybody else that might want to use that area, which I believe could be used now better to accommodate multi-use motorsports and on a sharing arrangement. So with that, and mainly because of the comments of the President, I'd like to withdraw my support for the lease to be renewed for 1 year and request that the Chief Executive Officer terminates the lease, which I believe is on a month-to-month basis at the moment.
Councillor Boylan, do you wish to?
That's all.
Is there any speakers against the alternate motion? Okay. If that's the case, I will put the alternate motion. Is anyone against? It's carried, 10-0. Okay, item number 12.1.6, Advisory Group Committees and Partnerships Review 2023. We have an officer recommendation. Mover, Councillor Campbell. Seconder, Councillor Kaboni. Is there likely to be any discussion, councillors? I'll put the motion. Is anyone against the motion? The motion is carried. Okay, item 12.3.2, Draft Harvey Region Trails and Adventure Master Plan. Have a officer recommendation on the screen. Councillor Kaboni moving, Councillor Burgoyne second. Is there likely to be any discussion, councillors? I'll put the motion. Is anyone against the motion? The motion is carried. Okay, item 12.5, 12.5.1, 2023 Shire of Harvey Community Awards. So we have officer recommendation. Do we have a mover? Councillor Kaboni. Seconder. Councillor Burgoyne. Councillor Campbell, do you have an amendment?
I do. Thank you, Mr. President. And I think it's up on the screen there, but it's a part 3 to the officer's recommendation, which requests the CEO to review policy 3.1.1, honours and awards, in order to provide guidelines on the eligibility of accepting and considering nominations for current serving councillors and shire officers. There was some discussion last week around
Do we have a seconder before we get into the discussion? Councillor Beach.
Get you out of trouble, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Councillor
Councillor Beach. Yes, councillors, there was some discussion around this issue last week at the agenda briefing, and I think the policy just needs a little bit of tweaking in order to provide some guidance for the committee moving forward, and there may be opportunities where community members wish to acknowledge volunteering efforts for both serving councillors and staff outside of their current roles. So I think the policy just needs a little bit of tweaking and in order for that to happen, and provide a bit more clarity for the committee moving forward.
Councillor Beach.
Yeah, I think that's a good move. It formalises something that historically has been an unwritten convention. And those of us who have been around a while know about it. Those that new kids on the block wouldn't know about it, so I think it's a good move.
Lucky to have old stalwarts in the stables, Councillor Beach. Is there likely to be any discussion on this, councillors? So I'll put the amendment. Is anyone against the amendment? Amendment is carried. So we now have the substantive. We have moved Councillor Carboni and Councillor Burgoyne on that one. You all happy with that, Councillor Carboni? Yep. Okay. I will put the motion. Is anyone against the motion? The motion is carried. Item number 12.5.2, Grant Funding Program 2023-2024. We have... Yeah, we split this. This is just a test meeting procedures. Okay, recommendation 1 of 2, which is on the screens. So we have do an explanation.
Can I explain? Yeah, I just thought that I was doing them separately, so the amendments, so just a clarification.
Sure. So through the chair, we have a financial interest, and so we've split the recommendation similar to what we do for budget meetings and the like. So the amendments proposed will be proposed for one of the recommendations and then the following. So we'll have those on the screen and we'll go through them one at a time. We'll close out that recommendation one of 2 with all of the amendments to this become the substantive motion, and we'll go to recommendation 2 of 2, which also has 2 amendments attached to it for a second substantive motion.
Can I ask the Agenda and Minutes Officer just to move down the screen so that councillors can be aware of how it's being split?
Oh, okay.
And then the recommendation 2 will be voted on with those amendments through that particular grant funding round.
So the first one I'm speaking about will be the Brunswick exercise.
Well, if we just move and second it for the recommendation, and then we can run through the amendments. Councillor Campbell moving, seconder. Councillor Beach. Councillor Campbell, you have an amendment.
I do, thank you, Mr. President. The first one, as up on the screen, is the Brunswick Ex-Society for the infrastructure grant allocation. So I'm requesting that Council does not approve the application for $25,000 from the infrastructure grant.
Councillor Beach. Any?
I'll do the second one.
Yep. No. Oh, sorry. No, seconder for that one. Sorry. Councillor Lovett.
Thank you, Councillor Lovett. My reason for this amendment is that I see that the project is valued at over $175,000, so it's quite a significant structure which has not been identified as part of the Brunswick Rec Ground Master Plan. Also, the site for the proposed shed is the current location for the skate park, and there has been no consultation around the relocation of the skate park yet, other than the Brunswick Rec Ground Master Plan identifying that the skate park needs to be retained within the rec ground area, but not where it's to be moved to. So, although I'm not against the heritage shed, I think it's just a bit too early in the planning process, and I believe there needs to be more discussions to take place between the Ag Society and the Shire before we go committing ourselves to the $25,000 which is required for the project to go ahead. So I'm not supporting the funding for this funding round.
Councillor Lovett.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, based on the fact that we're undergoing the master plan for the whole site, and this is essentially an ad hoc development to that, so I don't think that we should be supporting that when we're not following that plan that we are working on currently.
Any other speaker for the amendment? Speaker again?
Question, if I might.
Certainly.
The brain is not working as well as it should. There was talk of this at last place advisory group in relation to the location and something else, and I can't remember what the something else was, but I thought the location had been moved from the skate, what is actually the skate park site now. Someone can update me or remind me.
Thank you, Councillor, and through the chair, that is correct. The original site was at the Brunswick Skate Park, and the new location, the preferred location, is just to the side of it, still behind the main rec building there.
That was the only discussion on it. I thought there was something else. Sorry. I might be getting myself mixed up with something else.
Continuing through the chair, there was just a general discussion. We can make the minutes available. However, the groups did discuss that if the project didn't go ahead at this time, that they would be in a position to pursue it again next year.
That was what I think it.
Okay. Is there any other discussions? We'll put the amendment. Is anyone against the amendment? Amendment's carried. Amendment 2 of 3. Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, thank you.
As a mover, do we have a seconder for this one? Councillor Capragrego. Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Councillor Capragrego. This is for the Harvey Main Street Festival. Unfortunately, there was I'm of the understanding there was a bit of an oversight by the committee in regards to putting in a grant funding application. Therefore, they have not been considered. I acknowledge that there is long-standing funding for this committee, and it's definitely required. However, because they have not put in within the grant funding round, I'm putting a proposal forward that their application be considered as part of the 23-24 annual budget as a late funding application, and ask councillors to support that moving forward.
Question?
Thanks, Mr. President. I'm actually aware of a number of organisations that missed this funding round. Can they also apply and be considered in the budget to be fair and equitable?
Through the chair, we're aware of a number of organisations that had not submitted grant applications and had requested that they be included. The grant funding round has closed. I would suggest that the difference with this organisation and committee is that they submitted their application through the partnership round and may have been under the impression that they had an agreement and were not required to put in a separate application, and hence why it was admitted. But it is up to council as to whether any or this one is accepted.
Councillor Crispin.
Just a question on it. Where they did a application for 25,000 or 21,000, would that be possible to adjust or keeping it at 21?
Having not seen the grant application, they have in the past asked for 21,000. So I'm assuming that that's the amount that they would be requesting for the next financial year. It's only an assumption.
Thank you, Chair. I can confirm that we did download that application this morning, and this year they have submitted for 25,000 for a total project cost of about 85,000. and confirm that, yeah, last year it was 21,000.
Then I suggest we deal with that at budget time. You know, I'm going off the historical amount of 21,000. If it is 25,000, then we address that at budget time. But that's the one I'm putting forward today for consideration.
Councillor Capdrag, seconder.
I have declared impartiality on this item. I am the chairperson for this group. Apologies. So I've had discussions with the committee, which I am chair of that committee, and the gap has occurred because the treasurer has left the committee some time ago, and they missed the opportunity to put the grant in. So it was an oversight from the committee. The committee has shared with me all the information to apply for the grant, and they have in fact asked for 25,000, as was noted. There's no real explanation as to how it was missed, apart from the fact that the communication was missed. So this group did not put in the grant in time, and also discussing with the group is that if the budget is applied, then the money for the coordinator, which is a full-time job, won't be available, so it would put the Harvest Festival at risk. The Harvest Festival brings approximately anywhere between 8,000 and 10,000 visitors to our shire from all over the state. Surveys are being conducted each Harvest Festival to see where people come from and how much money it brings into our shire through accommodation, spending on the day, etc. So I would strongly recommend that we allow the group to accept the application funding for this year, and that hopefully that the group can get themselves a new treasurer and etc., and that won't happen again. That's all I can say.
Is there a speaker against question, Councillor Collins?
Yeah. A question, thanks, Chairman. I noticed that we have an unspent allocation of 132,000 in there that will be transferred to the Community Grants Reserve. Is it feasible that if we approve this Harvest Festival grant, that there is an opportunity for one or two others to reapply within that budget timeframe? Because you're quite right, the Harvest Festival is extremely worthy to the town, but so are a number of other grant funding opportunities as well that were missed. So is there the opportunity to, in this public forum, to provide a fair and equitable ruling?
Well, that would be something for a later meeting to be discussed, a recommendation to be discussed at the budget and be voted on by council.
So just a follow-up question, Mr. President. If it's a budgetary matter, do we vote on it today, or do we just take this out and put it through to a budget?
I can provide a little bit of context. The Shire officers have developed this grant funding program with the categories and some guidelines that have criteria inside of that, and that's what we put forward to council, and that's where the limits on each category come from, to try and manage that body of work throughout the year and support all of our community groups to be successful in their grant applications. Should council request that we receive funds outside of that criterion guidelines, then officers will act accordingly.
Okay. Any other speakers for? Against? Councillor Lovett?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I understand and I appreciate the passion and the hard work that goes into these things, but we have a policy that's been developed and we have a process that's been developed. As councillors, we're in a position of privilege here to know these processes. This application was not received in time. And I believe that we would be not following good governance and also reputational risk to the Shire if we were to allow this to go through, given the declaration of impartiality that's been made as well. There's a reputational risk to our Shire here if we proceed to allow a payment to be made to a group that did not meet the timeline and the requirements of this application. I can't vote for it.
Any other speaker for Councillor Beach?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I agree with all the speakers and Councillor Lovett to a large extent. However, we're not granting this funding right now. We're just simply asking it to be considered for funding in the 2023-24 budget, and it'll have to run the gauntlet during the budget process. It may or may not get a Guernsey depending on how tight the budget is. So we're not actually saying, yes, you've got the money. We're saying, well, you know, you were late, we'll reconsider it, but that's all we're going to do. We're not actually voting on whether or not they should receive the money today.
Any other speakers? Okay, I'll put the amendment. Is anyone against the amendment? 2. Carried 8-2. I've got Councillor 3X. Asking Councillor Campbell. Is it? We have a seconder for Amendment 3 of 3. Councillor Lovett. Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Lovett. This one's just a simple one, councillors. It's the Harvey Art Community Hub, a fairly new community group in our Shire, and I acknowledge that there's no capping on the number of grant funding applications you can request, but this group has put in for 3. This particular one is for the development of a website to the value of $5,000. I believe that there are other avenues that this community group can access in regards to assistance to establish their website. And for example, the Yarloop CRC is delivering a free website workshop on the 15th of June. So I believe there's other avenues that this group can look at in regards to getting a website for their new group. And I ask that Council not support their grant funding application in regards to a website.
Councillor Lovett. No. Is there a speaker against the amendment? Councillor Coleman.
Thanks, Mr. President. It is true that the CRC does have a workshop coming up. However, anyone that's ever developed websites knows that you've got to pay for the software, and then you've actually got to learn it. And if you're a volunteer, it can be overwhelming. And to establish emails, hosting, domain names, hosting, and all the bits that go with it. So I'd be recommending that we give them this startup funding. As I agree with Councillor Campbell that there was no capping on this, and it seems to be within all the guidelines. So I'd recommend that we proceed with it.
Any other speaker for? Speaker against? Okay, I'll put the Councillor Campbell. No, all good. I'll put the amendment. Is anyone against the amendment? Amendment's carried 7-3. Okay. So we've got the substantive. Everyone want to go through that once more? Councillor Beach? Did you
I
want
thought Councillor Campbell had another amendment.
I do, but
So
it's the next one.
this is split into two.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
just to take care of the financial interest on the second one.
Thank you.
Okay, we're all happy with that, so I'll put the motion. Is anyone against the motion? The motion is carried 10-0. Okay, recommendation at 2 of 2. Councillor Coleman?
Oh,
We will- Fair way you?
lead shed.
Oh, sorry, I was at Harvey Rotary.
Okay. Recommendation 2 of 2. Have a mover. Councillor Beach. Have a seconder. Councillor Campbell. Councillor Campbell, have an amendment.
I do, thank you, Mr. President. As is on the screen there.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Beach.
Thank you, Councillor Beach. Councillors, I put this amendment up to so that you will hopefully consider a $10,000 funding allocation for the Harvey Men's Shed. This is to assist the organisation in developing a business case, and I'm hoping that, and I acknowledge that it's not the full amount that they initially asked for, but I believe that the $10,000 will be a good start for them, and hopefully they'll reach out to the other local men's shed in our shire for assistance with the business case. Also, I understand that Lottery West indicate that they will not support grant funding requests in the development of a business case. However, they will support the other side of funding in regards to moving forward for the men's shed. So I think this is a good start for the Harvey Men's Shed, and will assist them in putting together their business case. So I ask Council to support the $10,000.
Councillor Beach.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, Mr. President. Just to bring you up to date, councillors, and I have got an interest in this. I am the secretary of the men's shed, but I have no financial interest whatsoever. Just trying to get another facility within the town of Harvey. We've been working on this now for 12 months, and we've made partnerships with the Harvey Rotary Club, the Harvey Lions Club and the Harvey Italian Club. And we've reached agreements with the Rotary Club to use their shed on the showgrounds temporarily. We're just working through an MOU now. Has the support of the planning department. We've met on site with them. We have an agreement in place with the Harvey Italian Club to use their facilities for social gatherings. This is bringing the men together so that they don't lose interest. We've been going 12 months and really a lot of back office stuff's been done, but nothing on the ground. So we had a very successful morning tea about 3 weeks ago, and we're planning another one next month. And the Lions Club have generously offered the facilities of their shed, which is quite close to the Rotary shed, when we start operating out of the Rotary Club. So we've got all these partnerships going. What we don't have any money, quite frankly. We've got some memberships that have paid in, but that doesn't amount to a great deal of money. So the next stage is a business plan, which the council has actually asked for, to see whether this complex is fit to go on to Lot 8, Wright Street, or any other site for that matter, and that's what the business plan will hope to uncover. Yeah, we did ask for $20,000 because we had a big picture of what could happen on that site. We're going to have to scope that back now, but I still believe it's workable. And we'll just scope back the business plan that we had in mind. So with that, I would ask for support to go ahead. As you all know, community men's sheds are important because of the people it supports and in the environment that it supports them. So we believe that promoting men's mental health, skill development, physical well-being, community engagement is well worthwhile, and men's sheds are well proven, but we can't get to the next step without some assistance. Thank you.
I'd have my doubts that anyone wants to speak against that, do they? Is there like to be any other discussion? Okay, we'll put the amendment. Anyone against the amendment? Amendment is carried 9-0. Councillor Campbell, amendment 2 of 2. Do we have a seconder?
Oh, I just have a question before I proceed with this one, if I can. Yep. It's just in regards to the current food trial that's happening up in Harvey. Seeking clarification that the grant funding request is for the second half of the year, because the grant application actually had up until June 2023, I think. And if that is the case, will there be another events package for the food vans coming into Harvey come back to council, or will that just be rolled over or extended? So 2 questions. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, would it be appropriate that Councillor Coleman comes back in? She's got an impartiality in this, but not a financial interest.
No, sorry, through the chair, where it's connected to the substantive motion, and so the financial interest applies. Yeah.
Can we not deal with the one of 2 then first?
Through the
There are some
chair.
questions that only Councillor Coleman can answer.
She may not be the only one.
Maybe I will understand.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, there has been discussions with Councillor Coleman as the applicant of the current Food Van Festival that the Rotary Club is coordinating in town. The success that they've had at the moment is generating the need for either an amended one or an alternative or a new one to actually extend that on further. So there will be another item that will be coming to council as a consequence of that application.
Therefore, I want to amend this amendment to that council supports this application subject to council approval of the event.
Through you, Madam Chair, thinking out loud, but you're actually supporting some funding subject to the granting of an approval for an application that we've yet not actually received. There may be something in that application that we're not happy with, so I would be cautious of having any grant funding subject to an approval that we haven't actually seen the application for as yet.
Okay. All right, then I'll withdraw that amendment.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going back through the audio song. Okay, so that's a late scratching on that one. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Sorry. Yes. Okay. So I will put. Sorry.
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure that this amount here is correct.
That'll change.
That will change now.
Of course.
We are taking the Saturday. No. Saturday night is staying. So what was the function rate? 338. 2838.
Infrastructure 75.
Yep.
Community partnership 75.
Yep.
Base mission 5,000.
Yes, correct. So you put that for yeah, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Wasn't bad. All good. There we go. So, happy with that?
It's 152.
Excuse me. 15269. I'm sorry.
Okay, we're all happy?
That is correct now.
There we go.
Sorry.
Okay. We all happy, councillors? I'll put things substantive. Anyone against the motion? The motion is carried 9-0. Ah, 8-0. Sorry.
8-0.
Okay. So that's Councillor Coleman, your information there, just a recommendation 2 of 2 while you're out of the room.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 13, elected members' motions of which previous notice has been given. Councillor Campbell.
Thank you.
Busy day, Deputy.
I know. Look at me go. Yeah, it's up there on the screen. I just need a seconder.
We have a seconder, Councillor Crispin. Welcome back.
Thank you, Councillor Crispin. Pretty easy one, councillors. We've received a lot of communication through our advisory groups, community notice boards and the like, that there's, and also a deputation, that there's a perception that we need an enclosed dog park within the Shire somewhere. So it's a simple notice of motion just requesting that the CEO investigate the feasibility and potential provision of an enclosed dog park or parks within the Shire, and a report to be presented to Council for consideration at the Ordinary Council meeting on Tuesday the 27th of June. So I'm just asking your support for this motion. Thank you.
Councillor Brisbane, anything to add? Is there any speakers against?
Question?
I will put the motion. Sorry, Councillor Tolman.
Just a question. Is the 27th of June, is that feasible to do that work without adding pressure?
Yes, the Director of Infrastructure advised that he worked at that time.
Put the motion. Is anyone against the motion? The motion is carried. Okay, item 14, notice of motion for the following meeting is nil. Questions by members of which due notice has been given is nil. Item 16, reports of members listed there or in the big tin can. Okay, item 17, new business of an urgent nature introduced by decision of meeting is nil. Item 18, matters behind closed doors. So council move behind closed doors. Let's move Councillor Burgoyne. Second, Councillor Boylan. I'll put the motion. Is anyone against the motion? The motion is carried. Okay, item 19, closure of meeting. As there's no further business to discuss, I will close the meeting at 5:12 and wish everyone a happy week, and thanks to Councillor Campbell for the last couple of weeks.